We're shining a spotlight on President Cyril Ramaphosa, who is today attending the inauguration and the swearing-in of Democratic Republic of Congo President-elect Félix Tshisekedi Tshilombo. The president of the DRC has a huge task ahead of him, that is to unite the nation, also bring peace to the country. Félix Tshisekedi is expected to announce his cabinet and will assist him of course assist him to lead the country. Let's bring in international relations analyst Dr Alexander Rusero to weigh in on the inauguration of DRC's Félix Tshisekedi. Prof. Alex, good afternoon. Thanks for your time with us here on the SABC at this hour.
Sure, afternoon, and thank you for having me.
Okay, let's get your reactions, your observations about the way the elections unfolded, and also looking at the inauguration today, the attendance. What's it indicative of?
Yeah, I think it is a plus on the government led by President Felix Tshesekedi, because when you have powerhouses, regional, continental powerhouses like South Africa attending your inauguration, it casts a good light in as much as issues of endorsement and issues of legitimacy are concerned. More importantly, this is happening at the backdrop of certain cited electoral irregularities that the people of the Democratic Republic of Congo experienced, but nevertheless, lots of presidents, including even my own president, President Emmerson Mnangagwa, attending this inauguration. It means a lot in as much as the legitimacy and regional and continental acceptance of the Tshisekedi-led government is concerned.
Well, speaking of the attendance and perhaps also lessons learned through these elections for SADC, for the continent at large, what comes to the fore? I'm looking at some of the issues or flags that were raised about the electoral irregularities. There were also, questions about how this threatens democracy on the continent. What are your observations on that front, particularly as more countries head into elections?
Yeah, unfortunately, the problem of elections in Africa is that they are more or less a foreign policy issue now. When you are having good books precisely with the global north, they tend to hear no evil, see no evil, and speak no evil. But when you are found wanting, then there are certain issues that start to manifest, especially issues with regards to an election. Quickly, I will tell you right now that South Africa is going to have a daunting task in as much as its upcoming elections are concerned, given the backdrop of what South Africa has done in terms of the whole genocide taking place in Palestine under the name of trying to fight the Hamas insurgents. So we will wait to see. But back to DRC. Yes, every country has had its electoral problems because remember, Africa is emerging immediately as a post-colonial continent whose governance architecture are more or less still tied to the metropoles that were the colonizers. So whenever you step on the toes of these issues of irregularities will always occur. But the best question to ask is, who are we holding these elections for? Are we holding them for ourselves or for the external players? If we are holding them for ourselves, you will come to terms with reality that the ruling parties, the incumbent governments, they are not as unpopular as the narrative pushed by the West would want us to believe. Yes, DRC, we have seen certain loopholes in its conduct of elections, but the truth of the matter is when you have a party still commanding support of 74% of the plebiscite in terms of our president and sweeping up to 69 of the parliamentary seats, it reflects some degree of popularity in as much as the expression of the people's vote are concerned towards the ruling establishment.
Okay.
Despite the fact that other opposition luminaries such as Moise Katumbi, such as Martin Fayulu, they are also popular. You can't take that away. But their popularity has not reached that level when they can torpedo the incumbency.
Well, speaking of which, then, looking at this term that's obviously President Felix Tshisekedi has now under his belt, we're looking at some of the key priorities. We're also looking at the new cabinet and what we should be expecting. What's reflected on that front?
Yeah, obviously, the whole idea is to rally behind the nation state of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Because outside issues of unity, DRC is on the verge of balkanization. This did not start today. There have always been attempts to balkanize DRC, to partition it into at least 4 states, if not more. So what is needed, especially in the second term, because remember, first term for any president is always about consolidation of power. Second term is about delivery, because second term has a lot to do with the issues of legacy. There are a lot of legacy issues. So Felix Tshisekedi would also want to be remembered as somebody who moved the DRC from where it is to the next level. And he cannot wish away the popularity that his rivals in form of Katumbi and in form of Fayulu have. And the only way to remedy such is to bring some modicum of unity, some semblance of unifying people, which may not necessarily be reflective of a unity government, but that idea that I acknowledge and respect, that you command support and we can work together. And there has also to be a balance in terms of appointments, meritocracy versus regionalism, because DRC must be represented in terms of regions by way of appointments, as opposed to the manifestations of nepotism that we witnessed in the previous Tshisekedi-led cabinet.
What about handling the relationships between other East African countries? What do you think is also going to be reflected there?
Yeah, I think the major elephant in the room would be Tshisekedi and Kagame relations, because of late we have seen DRC and Rwanda ruffling feathers, which is not healthy in as much as cordiality is concerned. Because remember, President Tshisekedi, I'm sorry to use this word, he was at one time very reckless in claiming that Rwanda wants war with the DRC. And President Kagame did not take those utterances lightly, and he said, no, if DRC wants war, they will get war. And he said only if President Tshisekedi knew what war is all about, he would not make those utterances. So what is required actually is some form of African statesman maturity and some form of a neutral broker. South Africa can actually be the most convenient player to try to bring together these 2 feuding states on the negotiation table and ironing out differences. Because as we are speaking right now, you will find out that there is something going on in the eastern region of DRC, which is very underreported and which is very heinous and gruesome, more than what is taking place in Gaza, more than what is taking place in Palestine or even in Ukraine right now. But because, remember, I've talked about issues of our attachment to coloniality, Africa is always placed on the lowest level of the invisible hierarchy. And the DRC, in the cosmology of the Western media, does not matter as much as the other prominence where conflicts are taking place. But something must give in as much as issues to rally peace, unity, and development in that region is concerned. And what's required is an honesty or a neutral broker like South Africa.